Recorded.
Hi guys, my name is Kaylin Halavity. I am a CESA literacy tutor at the Eastside location. Today we're just going to go over breaking down words while reading. With the main thing we are going to focus on is how to identify a prefix and a suffix in a word, which should kind of help you break down, certain words if they're tough and you don't understand a certain word while you're reading. This will kind of help you digest like one word. So with that being said, we're going to start with just kind of go over a brief overview here of long vowels and short vowels. For here, there are 26 letters in the English alphabet. 5 of those are vowels. So we're going to have A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, because they'll sometimes sound like the other ones. So vowels are the loud sounds that form within each syllable of a word. And why is this important to know is the vowels are like essentially the building blocks of words. And by practicing and understanding vowels, you'll be able to, it improves your spelling and reading, pronunciation, and comprehension of a word. So kind of going down here, so there are two types of vowels, a long vowel and then a short vowel. A long vowel will sound like you're actually saying the actual word, like blaze, like the A in blaze sounds like A. Another one would be like nope, like no, like nope would be O. So that would be like a long vowel. So kind of one way I remember is that a long vowel will, it sounds like you're saying the actual letter itself. A short vowel, just think of it as being kind of a more concise pronunciation within a word. So that sound occurs when the letter is not pronounced the way it actually sounds. And so I have some examples down here at the bottom actually of the screen here. So some of the examples could include for short vowel pronunciations are the word A in bat is bat. And if you wanted to change that and make it like a long vowel, you could do bait by putting like the E at the end of this word. Some other examples would be bit. The I in bit is short. The word E in bed, bed. And again, if you wanted to make it like a long vowel, usually for long vowels, it's either when a word ends in like a vowel, so it could be A, E, I, O, U. So whenever that ends in like a word like that, like haze, he, high, or hope, or when two vowels are together, like in the word read, for example. But that one's also tricky because that could be read as, he reads the book or she read the book. So that can kind of sometimes be a little tricky. So the long vowels are pronounced as follows. So the A as in haze, E as in he, I as in high, O as in hope. And I have a little chart here. I think, I'm a visual person, so maybe if you are too, this could, kind of help you. But so we have a little chart here that would go from the long vowels would be, so we're gonna go over these section by section here. So I'm gonna start with the long A sound over here. So it's gonna be pale. And do you see how I said earlier how when there's two vowels together, like A and I, it's going to be a long vowel sound. So we're going to have pale. This one, plain, rake, tape, and cake. For the long E sounds, it would be wheel. Again, it's two vowels together, E, double E. Seal, again, the S and or the E and A kind of signals to you that it's not going to be sell, like it would be seal. Keys, leaf, again, the E and the A, so that kind of is a cue to you. That's going to be a long, going to have that long sound, and it'll actually be pronounced as it's written there. Peach. For long I's, it would be, we have pie, bike, and then we have ice, kite, and then dime. And so for O, so again, the O and A are together, so it's going to be boat. And you can kind of hear the O, it sounds exactly what it's supposed to sound like as an O for the long vowels. Rope, stove, hose, and then we have globe. And then for use for to pronunciate that is mule, tube. This gonna be like a tricky one if you're reading out loud. It'll be a ukulele, and then cube. And so you're gonna notice the difference is we're gonna go over the short vowels, and those are gonna sound a little bit different. So we're gonna first start with the A. It's gonna be apple. And this, when there's a vowel before a consonant, it will usually have like a short vowel A sound, apple. Cat, van, hat, yam. For short E, it'd be bell, chess, nest, belt, and shells. And kind of so on over here. So I think you may get the idea that like fish, be fish. Bib, between the two consonants there, it'd be I, pig, king, and then mit. So those are just the vowels. That's gonna kind of go focus more on the prefix and suffix, but I just kind of wanted to give a brief overview on that. So while you're reading, a lot of times when you'll see passages, you're going to see words that maybe you'll stumble upon or that you might not understand, but the hope is if you kind of dissect each word, you'll be able to kind of pull apart like the meaning of that word. So in the English language, there are what we call root words or like stem words. You can think of it as even a flower. Okay, that could be like your stem word, and from the stem word you can branch off and create a new meaning of a word using what we call a prefix or a suffix. And so think of it as like, again, petals on like a leaf. So it could be, pretend like that's like a flower. Those could be like your prefixes. And then so a prefix, I'm going to kind of start with that, is a prefix will be before a word. So anything, like a precursor to an event, or if you're watching a movie, pre-roll. Pre indicates that it means before. A suffix, you can kind of think of it as like successor, like, the Queen of England will have a successor, that means after. So if you can kind of think of it as that, so suffix means after. So for example, two forms of the root word see are vis and vid. So there, such as the words television here and video. So learning the meanings of common prefixes and suffixes can help you understand unknown, English words that you come across. So, so an example here, just to kind of start off here, we have the word export and deport. So when I say stem words, it's going to be, so let me see if it highlights it here. So for that is the stem word for both of these words, export and deport, it's going to be, the stem word be port. And from there, you can change the meaning of the base word port by either putting a prefix. So export. So export means you are like taking something, you're like export, you're giving it away, you're exporting a good from the dock, or you're exporting your file into your email address. So you're like, it could mean send. Same with the word deport. So, and this kind of gives like a better example here. So a prefix is, like I said, a group of letters that is attached to the front of a word to convey a different meaning. And the same thing will go for a suffix, but that it just goes to the end. So prefix will attach to the word, to the front of the word, and then the suffix is after. So an example here is the root word would be comfortable. So within comfortable, you could change it and you could say, oh, I'm comfortable by only putting the ABLE. See right there where it says prefix? So the word UN would be the prefix of uncomfortable. And that changes it. Uncomfortable meanings like discomfort, you're not okay, something just doesn't feel right to you. But say you take out the UN of uncomfortable, and then you're left with comfortable. So that will leave you with comfortable with the suffix being ABLE. And ABLE would be the suffix of the word. So that means comfortable by putting the ABLE, it would be like you're like a state of mind, you're feeling comfortable. So it changes beyond like the noun. Again, the word irregular. So we have the root word regular. The prefix would be IR, so it'd be like irregular. And then the ly would be the suffix. And then we have, so say you have organize. And you want to say, okay, so Sally is very organized. She has everything neat at her desk. But say you have Frank over here who is messy and, doesn't keep a neat pile. The way you convey that is putting the prefix dis, D-I-S. So that would be the opposite. That means this is the opposite. It could also be like meaning not, like not something. So disorganized would be another word for messy. Again, say you get rid of the word dis and you just say organized, that would be the opposite, and that would be neat, or neat could be another word for that. And then for unconfidently. So we have here the stem word would be confident. And so say you're confident, you're brave, you think, you're like, it all, you feel good about yourself, then you would say, I walk into the room confidently. But say you left a bad interview and, you didn't think it went so well, the word, by putting UN, which is your prefix right there, would be UN would be unconfidently, meaning you aren't confident, you're kind of feeling so-so, you weren't really feeling that good about it. And then lastly, for other example would be, so the stem word in disrespectfully would be respect. And, you have respect, you have a lot of, like a good view of someone, you respect them, so the DIS would put the opposite of respectful, and it would be disrespectfully. That means you're not treating someone right. We all want to treat humans in a respectful manner, or your peers in a respectful manner. But say someone, called you something bad, or, someone was really rude to you and they didn't treat you a certain way, instead of saying, oh, I was treated, I was treated respectfully at the store the other day, you would say disrespectfully. So, the man yelled at me and called me a bad name. I was treated very disrespectfully. Or say you went to go and complain that you were at a restaurant and you weren't okay with the service. But, the manager took care of you and really, made sure your experience was okay and kind of made the situation better. Then you would say, I was treated respectfully. I was treated with respect. So you can kind of see how that can kind of change the meaning within the word. And then for, okay, so these are some more examples here. So for prefixes, and this is a kind of a good chart. And when I was first learning this, I would use flashcards. It kind of helped me to kind of decide what a prefix would mean in front of a certain word. So for we have prefix here in this screen, so DE. So the meaning could be from, down, like I'm descending down the stairs. That would be D. So send, but if you put DE in front of send, descend, then you're going down the stairs. It could mean away, reverse, it could be the opposite. So they kind of take on a couple different meanings depending on like what the word is. Some examples they give here, probably better than I'm giving, is we have decode. The stem word would be code. So always think of like the stem word as just kind of like your foundation, your building block for words. Like it can't be taken away. You can't take code away, but some things you can take away as a prefix would be decode. So code, pretend code is another word for like password, or you have to have a code to enter this. If you say you figure out the code, or you broke you broke a password, that could be, you could say decode by putting the DE in front of code. Another one is decrease. Do you see how crease, CREASE, that would be decrease, meaning to go down, to lessen. But if you put the IN in front of CREASE, that could be then another word for in, or like up. So like I increased my salary, or I increased my pay this year. Or if you're thinking about like stock, like finance, like the stocks decreased in value, or I bought the car off the lot and it decreased in value. Or if you're thinking about like increase, it could be I sold some gold and it increased in value. That means it would go up. So a lot of times with these the prefix and suffix, you can use those and then some other words around it in a passage to kind of decide the meaning of a sentence. So a couple other examples I'm going to point out here would be pro. Pro is a very common one in the English language. It could take the meaning of for, forward, like protract, before. So proactive. Before my manager came into work yesterday, I had everything done. So what you could say is proactive. Active is you're doing something, you're running, you're doing something, you're being productive. But when you put proactive, that means you got ahead of it. So you could really change the meaning of active by saying proactive. Like program, like gram would be the stem word. And then if you put pro, Pro, then you would have then like that could change a meaning into say program instead of gram, in terms of measuring, measuring flour or fruit at a store. Like it wouldn't be sold in grams, but if you put pro, that changes meaning. So now it's the program. Now it can mean a schedule. So these are some examples here. Some other common ones in the English language are RE, that's probably the most common, and then UN. So for RE, it means again or back, or RE could mean repeat. So for the word reappear, appear is your stem word. RE would also go back to the meaning of again, so reappear. So I walked into the room, 2 minutes later, I reappeared into the room. So when you say it that way, reappear signals to the reader, oh, I walked into the room again, by putting RE in front of appear. So that could, by putting RE, meanings the action was done more than once. Again, act. I acted on something, but I reacted to her accusation, or I reacted to a nice gesture. And then another one would be UN. So that would be, the opposite, against. Some examples here are the stem word would be equal, And to say something opposite would be like unequal. So unequal. So when you compare apples to oranges, unequal, or someone wasn't treated equally. I was treated as an unequal. That would be the opposite. Okay, so those are the prefixes there. We're going to move on to suffix in English. So suffix, those come at the end of the word. So here's some examples that are pretty common that I kind of put together that you can kind of see how they kind of play into the meaning of a word. So up at the top here, corner here, we have, you can kind of see the signal here, S-I-O-N or T-I-O-N. So it would be like the state of being. So some examples are position, promotion. So the STEM word for promotion would be promo. By putting T-I-O-N in there, promotion. So it would be, George got a promotion today at work. That would be an example of that. So he got a raise, he got a bump in salary. Ambition. So ambition again kind of signals the state of meaning. Stephanie achieved as at a 4.0 all throughout high school. You could say that she has ambition. So she has drive. She's motivated. So an example is 8. Could be become. So that's kind of like, so create, like you made something. So by putting C or E in front of 8, that could be create, you made something. So some more examples here. So handful, notable for. So it'd be handful. So hand is a STEM word. By putting FUL in front of any of these, so we have handful, playful, hopeful, skillful, thankful. That is that could be you're feeling a certain way about something. So an example would be or to describe like a noun. So those kids are a handful, or like, oh my gosh, like they're a lot to handle. I babysit 5 kids at a time. Wow, they're a handful. The dog was so playful. Hopeful. I am feeling very hopeful about next year. Thankful is a common one that we use, maybe throughout the year that you use. I am feeling thankful. So it's kind of a state of like how you're feeling by putting FUL there. So there are some more examples. Here is just kind of go over again. I just kind of broke it up even to more common root words and their origins. Like alter, for example. Alter, if someone has like an alter ego, it could mean they have something else. Like not that they're hiding, but they have like another side to them. Alternate, an alter could mean change too. Alter is another one that can kind of be synonymous with change. Like I altered the dress. When you say you altered the dress, that means you changed the dress. You changed the fabric, you changed something about it. Let's see here. What else? And then there is, crypt. So right here at the bottom here. Oops, let me see if I can highlight it here. Okay, okay, so crypt here, as you see, so crypt means hidden. So cryptogram, cryptology, cryptic. And then ego. So ego could be the root word. It's like, could be a reflection. Ego means like self, your inner self. And then you could make a couple words out of that, like egotistic, egomania. And so for these ones, we're kind of filling the blanks here, and you can kind of go right along with me to kind of, to see, kind of go as another overview here. So for these, we're going to start with fix. So see here, the bank of prefixes here, we have D, E, E, X, I, M, M, I, S, etc. So from this bank, we want to see what prefixes would be best used to complete each word. So based on what we learned, we can kind of go ahead and kind of eliminate a couple of these. So the first one that's sticking out to me that would work would be prefix, as in prefixes. If you see any other ones, I'm seeing a couple more. Would be like unfixed, like to undo. For some other examples, we can go to happy. That's a good one to use. So I'm happy. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a lot of joy. Say if you're feeling the opposite of that way, you're not feeling great. You're kind of sad. You're angry. There's one in the word in the key bank that you could use, which would be un. So unhappy. That would change the meaning of happy greatly, because you're no longer happy. You're not feeling happy, you're feeling sad, you're feeling kind of down. So you'd put like unhappy with this. I don't really see any other ones that would work for that one. So for fiction, that's used to describe. So if you're reading a book, fiction, like if you're reading something, sci-fi or say Game of Thrones, that would be fiction. That means it's kind of not true. But say you wanted to make it true, something from that bank would work, which would be nonfiction, which is at the top here, N-O-N, nonfiction. So that changes it. So when you say that book about World War II was nonfiction, by putting non in front of fiction, it's going to mean that book was real. That book was, based on truth. That's a kind of a category of a book that you would read. Some other examples here are, let's see here. Code. Code is a good one. So code, we could do miscode. You could do a pre-code, that could be some in front of something. I had a pre-code. What else? Oh, visible. So visible is something that you can see. So that the waterfall I'm standing in front is visible, or I see that it's the snow is very visible out on a December day in Cleveland. But say you wanted to say, oh, that ghost is, if you can't see a ghost, for example, if you're talking about a ghost or something that you can't see, with something from the word bank that you could use is invisible. So that's another example. And so kind of based on that, we can even kind of go over this article here. Kind of pulling my Washington Times article from today. We can kind of digest like a couple paragraphs here to see, while we're reading this, if we can kind of digest like any words from here based off if they are a prefix or a suffix. So for here, oh yeah, and then there's one more thing here I wanted to, ing. Okay, and then there's one other common suffix that we can use a lot in the English language is ing, and er. So er would be so an example when you would use er at the end of the word is that could mean a person is doing something. So say example, you have the word teach. Teach is a verb. I teach. So I play. Say you put an er at either one of those words, teach or play. By putting er at the end of teacher, that means it turns into not a verb, but it turns into a person who is doing something. So I have a teacher. My teacher is teaching me math. Or play. So I'm playing around, I'm doing something, I'm having fun. But say you put er in front or after play, player becomes like a person doing something. So same thing with teacher. By putting er at the end of teach, teacher becomes someone doing something instead of a verb like teacher or teach. Excuse me. So player, baseball player. So kind of see how it changes that. The football, play, ER, that changes it. Another one would be ing. And reason I bring these up is because you're going to see a lot of these while you're reading. And ing, when you put an ing at the end of the word, it becomes like a gerund. It can compare things. It can, it's like a form of acting. So you could say run. The verb run, R-U-N, by putting, let me write this if I can. So run. Okay, so we have the word run. By putting ing, you put it in there, just that's probably a different lesson, but when you put ing, that means you're doing something. Play, back to the word play. So we have play. By putting ing in there, then it changes play from a noun into the act of doing something. So I am playing football. I am playing basketball. So that means you're actively I'm playing. Right now I'm playing tennis, instead of saying I play tennis. So it kind of signals to the reader that, oh, it's happening. It's a form of acting. So that would be also known as a gerund. And so just before we, if I take any other questions here, from here, we can read this. We can read this passage right here that I highlighted. So let me, if I can expand this here. Okay. Okay. So again, this is just an article I just took from, the Washington Post. Nurses and doctors take extreme precautions to avoid infecting family members. This is talking about the coronavirus. So for this one, we're going to see if we can kind of point out any suffix or prefix or suffix that we had to help us navigate the passage. So to begin, this new homework is as stressful as it is tedious. One thing that sticks out to me is that I'm seeing is the word stressful. Okay, stressful. So that becomes a state of being. That's I am stressful. So we're gonna kind of go back to our map here to the FUL. So right here, where I'm kind of highlighting it here, circling it rather, that becomes a suffix. So it's notable for. So handful, playful. So this homework is as stressful as it is tedious. So it's signaling how this homework is how this person feels about homework by putting stressful, or by putting FUL after stress. And then another one, next sentence, a misstep could mean spreading a coronavirus infection to a loved one. Okay, so I see a couple here. Misstep, the word misstep. So what do you think the root word of misstep would be? It would be step. Okay, right there, I highlighted it. So step is the root word that we talked about. Pretend, again, we're going to pretend like this is a flower. The sum of a, that's not a good one. Sorry, I don't draw. That's why I'm probably not teaching art class either. So pretend that's the sum of a flower. So it's going to be step. Okay. And the prefixes could be the petals, okay, of a flower, if you think about it that way, and then, okay, so that's, a very bad flower. But if you want to think of it that way, is the stem is the base of the word, and then the petals of a flower could be petal for pre, like it comes at the top, and then suffix could be the root word, the words that are, that are at the end of it. That's kind of how I kind of remember it. So misstep, M-I-S. So miss means it could also be mistake, or I think this one had in here. Let me see if I have this as an example. Oh yes, miss. So going back to this chart here, which is helpful, I kind of recommend that you guys can take a picture of it, come back to this lesson. So MIS is a prefix, means bad or wrong, mislead, and misplaced So in this, a misstep. So what do you think by the sentence by knowing what the prefix is miss? A misstep could lead spreading a coronavirus infection to a loved one. So that could be misstep, in this case would be bad. I took a step in the right direction, or that's good. By putting MIS in front of step, like something that's like, oh, I stepped into work today, or I stepped into a new position. And by putting MIS again in front of that word, changes in meaning, like spoke. I spoke to the teacher. Or if you put MIS, I misspoke on one of my facts during my presentation. That means, it was wrong, AKA also known as bad. So then it was, even with 30 to 40 minutes of prep, coming back home and doing all this, I am still worried I screwed it up in some way. One that I'm seeing here is screwed. And then there's also, I think that's ing again, the gerund ing, like, oh, I come to work. Coming is a form of acting, so that means like you're doing it. Like I'm coming into the soccer game late, or I'm coming into the grocery store. And lastly here, and then, oh, this is the second one. Okay. Yep, I think we got it. So, is there any questions? I kind of hope that made sense of what I was talking about in terms of a prefix. Prefix is, if you say like a precursor, it's before a word, and then the suffix would be after. So that's just kind of how and these are some like kind of good examples to kind of go over. So if there's no other questions, I am going to log off here, but it was a pleasure teaching you guys, and thanks for tuning in. Thank you.